of species populate our planet, but it's no secret which one dominates them all. From crowded cities to isolated wastelands, we've asserted our authority over nature in the drive for development. Eco India Today explores ways we can coexist with the natural world, a world of which we are an inseparable part. Hello and welcome, I'm Sanuta Raghu. Around the globe, cities are expanding beyond their boundaries to accommodate growing populations. When urbanization encroaches on the natural habitat of wild animals, they may put up a fight to survive. In Delhi, aggressive monkeys have been bullying residents for years now. Authorities and conservationists are divided on how best to gain the upper hand.
India's capital, New Delhi, has a problem. A monkey problem. From downtown business districts to residential neighborhoods, gangs of marauding monkeys terrorize people going about their daily lives. In Kalandar colony in northeast Delhi, a resident was taking care of her baby when a troop of 12 macaques burst into her home.
I pressed my 9-month-old daughter against me and I pretended to sleep. But the monkeys surrounded me. They surrounded me and started biting me. On my back, my shoulders, my thighs, everywhere. They bit me on my stomach too.
No one knows how many thousands roam the city. What's clear is that the primates can be vicious. With more than 950 attacks reported at last count in 2018. Over the years, their numbers have increased steadily, a development that's gone hand in hand with the rapid growth in Delhi's human population. The loss of their natural habitat to make room for people, industries and farming is part of the problem.
Jungles in and around Delhi have been decimated, especially in the ridge area where now the metro line is coming. We had recommended that the metro line be actually taken underground, but despite all our efforts, the DMRC insists on having it over the land, which would mean thousands of trees being cut. Once we have encroached upon their place, how can we blame them from encroaching upon ours?
Not all residents view monkeys as a menace. The animals are revered by Hindus as descendants of the monkey god Hanuman. As a result, people hand out bananas and scraps, fueling their population explosion.
I believe it's possible that they have the power of gods. We pray to them as part of praying to our Hindu deities. There are thousands of temples devoted to them and everybody prays to them.
If you see, in wild there is a food scarcity, there will be droughts, there will be good years, there will be bad years, and there will be predators. So there is this population control. The recess is also a religious symbol, and a lot of people feed these animals. And that is contrary to, reducing the problem at hand, because they are getting food from garbage, they are getting food from people everywhere. So nutritionally, they are doing pretty well. Only disease is taking toll on the population, and that's why in the wild, what we're seeing, the rate of growth is much lesser than what is happening in urban environment.
The city now warns against feeding the monkeys and recently introduced fines for offenders in residential areas. Overwhelmed residents can only turn to local officials for help, and they call in monkey catchers like Shahid and Usman. One part of the job is imitating langurs, a monkey species that Delhi's primates fear.
I've been at this job, making langur sounds, for a year and a half now. Monkeys get scared when confronted by a langur. It's very agile, and rhesus monkeys are scared of the sound it makes.
Catchers like Usman also set up traps to lure monkeys into cages. The animals are then transported to the Asola Bhatti Wildlife Sanctuary on Delhi's outskirts and freed to roam around the periphery. It's part of an official relocation program underway since 2007. But experts say the plan designed to take pressure off the capital has backfired. Iqbal Malik was India's first woman primatologist. She has been working for more than 30 years to solve human-monkey conflict. She points out that monkeys live in social groups, and their circles get disrupted when random monkeys are caught in ones or twos in small boxes. Multiple unstable groups are created, and that triggers aggressive behavior. More groups lead to more home range that are spread into newer areas of the city.
From few areas where they are everywhere. And everywhere is not foraging ground. So naturally they raid, naturally they create problems.
The Wildlife Institute of India has been commissioned by the central government to conduct a monkey population census and behavioral study. It advocates sterilization as a means to control the population. Animal rights activists like Gauri Maliki believe sterilization only exacerbates the problem.
Sterilization has classically increased the aggression in monkeys. We've seen that in Himachal. It only kind of made the monkeys more aggressive. While the population came down, the monkey bites went up.
The government is now seeking to recruit more monkey catchers and train them to round up the animals in troops. Confining entire tribes in the sanctuary could help free residents from the monkey menace plaguing the streets and homes of Delhi.
While some urban animal populations pose a danger to people, others are just a nuisance. Take pigeons, for example. In many cities, they are derided as a pest. Our reporter set out in Berlin to discover how these birds have coexisted with humans in the past and how pigeons came to be viewed as a plague.
Love them or hate them. When it comes to pigeons, Berliners have an opinion.
They're horrible, flying rats.
I'm afraid of pigeons. I don't like them.
They come to my balcony and they don't let me use my balcony.
Most people dislike these animals because simply
they crap too much.
Others are afraid of the potential public health risks, but experts say Berlin's pigeons pose no particular threat.
They are not more or less transmitting diseases than any other bird or any other animal.
Katrin Hermann is Berlin's Animal Protection Commissioner. She is on a mission to eliminate misconceptions about pigeons.
There is a conflict between humans and pigeons because there are many of them. It's definitely a man-made problem, and most people don't seem to be aware that those animals that we see here are not wild animals, they're domesticated animals.
Pigeons are in fact the world's oldest domesticated bird. For as long as 10,000 years, people have relied on their meat and eggs for food, and on their eagerness to return home to deliver messages. At the first Olympics in ancient Greece, pigeons were used to get the word out on who'd won. And in modern times, Pigeon Post marked the start of news agency Reuters. In World War I, a pigeon named Cher Ami received a medal for its bravery after it delivered a message that saved the lives of 200 US soldiers in France. So how did such a heroic species come to be seen as a pest?
During the Second World War, many flocks were destroyed from bombing, and that set the pigeons free, and they had no longer housing. And one thing that we did is that we bred them to reproduce a lot. So they have this urge to reproduce.
And reproduce they do. Pigeons lay an average of 2 eggs 6 to 8 times a year. Common attempts to control their numbers include trapping, poisoning, or even shooting the birds. Experts call it torture.
We also have inadequate ways of keeping pigeons out of certain areas, and then they get entangled and caught and die there. That is all suffering we don't see.
Luckily for the birds, there are Berliners who have taken matters into their own hands.
There are thankfully many people in the city who take care of pigeons. They do that on a voluntary basis. Without that, we couldn't manage at all because there's nothing in place by the government yet.
Doreen Torher has been feeding Berlin's pigeons for more than a decade. She pays for their care out of her own pocket.
I wish I didn't have to feed them because this isn't the right place for these animals. But it's better than doing nothing. We'd much prefer to implement other measures like pigeon lofts.
Pigeon lofts are an alternative method to control the birds' population and their droppings. Here the animals are provided with appropriate food and can nest in a secure environment. And their eggs can be swapped out for identical-looking fake ones. That, says Katrin Hermann, is a humane way to control bird numbers citywide.
If we are talking about stray cats and dogs, we wouldn't have this idea of killing, poisoning, starving them to get rid of them because we are very well aware of our responsibility for those animals. And the same goes for those city pigeons that are domesticated animals.
There are only a handful of pigeon lofts in Berlin, and all of them are run by volunteer groups. They hope that in time, the city will adopt these enclosures as its official strategy to keep Berlin's burgeoning pigeon population in check.
Like pigeons in downtown Berlin, the brown hyenas of Namibia are also tainted by their reputation as vermin. The animals have long been misunderstood, and hunting has pushed their populations into a threatening decline. With a growing recognition of their value to the ecosystem, community-based efforts are underway to protect them from farmers who fear for their livestock.
The Skeleton Coast in northwestern Namibia is home to brown hyenas, also known as strand wolves.
Hyenas are very important in the ecosystem and they've got a very important role to play, but they're portrayed as the bad guys, and that's what people think about hyenas in general.
We are forever killing our goats, yet our hands are cut off and we can do nothing about it. But if the farmers come up and say, we are killing now, we are taking law in our own hands, I understand their pain.
We're now living in a nature reserve alongside wild animals. We can earn as much with them now as we do with goats and sheep, so I no longer shoot them.
The hyenas are perfectly adapted to the extreme desert conditions and icy cold Benguela ocean current. Biologist Emzi Fervey has been studying the animals here for 7 years and is still fascinated by them. She's a science coordinator for a tourism company that supports conservation projects in the region.
I've got a lot of respect for hyenas because to survive as a large scavenger in the desert, it's no mean feat. And they're also very social. When they're out there, they're solitary. So you just see these single hyenas out there, but when they're back at the den, when there are cubs at the den, there's a lot of social going on. There's a lot of time spent with the cubs, playing with the cubs, grooming the cubs.
Fervey discovered a network of dens off the coast where packs of strand wolves gather to socialize and share their catch. They carry carcasses dozens of kilometers through the desert to feed to their cubs in the dens. Scavenger animals like these prevent diseases from spreading, making them important for livestock farming. But their reputation as predators means they're mercilessly hunted.
People would put out poison for lions, for leopards, cheetahs, and then the hyenas would be bycatch of that. Just people are afraid of hyenas, so people don't appreciate the value of brown hyenas, and they're scared of the hyenas. So people would throw stones at them, they would chase them with cars.
Seven years of drought have ravaged the region. The animals here have to travel ever greater distances in search of food. This means they cross paths with farmers, like Emmanuel Gurirab, who are now losing more and more livestock to predators.
Issue today. The incident took place at Farm Leocop in the Konana region last week, where 2 lions killed 66 goats and 10 sheep belonging to farmer Emmanuel Gurirab.
As a result of the lion attack, Gurirab lost half of his herd, a sizable financial loss for the farmer. The government compensates farmers after such incidents, but at a rate around half of market value.
The wild animals from the desert, the lions, the elephants, cause us a lot of problems. We don't gain anything from having wild animals here. They bring us nothing. Our livestock are our income, how we earn our living.
Near his stall, Gurirab has discovered fresh hyena tracks. Brown hyenas don't hunt goats, but the tracks could have been made by spotted hyenas, a more aggressive species.
If the government doesn't take care of the hyenas, we have no choice. We have to shoot them. That's the plan.
When he was a cattle herder, Phineas Kasaona also killed hyenas and lions. Today, he protects them. He's a ranger and member of the Anabeb Community Reserve. Since the 90s, farmers like Kasaona have joined neighbors to create their own nature reserves, which now cover about 1/5 of Namibia's landmass. Last night, elephants raided a neighbor's vegetable patch. So, for the next few nights, Kasaona will stand guard. Despite the problems they cause, the farmers still want to protect the animals.
Things have changed. Back in the day, if a hyena took one of your animals, you hunted it down and killed it. Today we live in a new world with laws that protect wild animals. And if we take care of them, we can even live from them. So we should try to live together. We do better then.
Farmers have agreed on limiting livestock so that both wild and farm animals can coexist. Since antelope populations increased, attacks by wild predators have gone down. Anabeb earns its income from tourism and was able to install electricity and water connections and rebuild a preschool. Back on the Skeleton Coast, a ranger informs Fairvey that an elephant calf is missing. The biologist fears the worst. She finds the calf halfway to a watering hole. Due to the ongoing drought, the mother couldn't lactate. There is no hope for the young elephant.
It's part of life out here. I mean, everyone dies, you live. But she was born yesterday, so it seems such a waste for her not to have a life out here. Yeah, so I love all animals, and you do what you can, but eventually life must get on, and this is part of it. Death is part of life.
Long periods of drought have made the fight for survival even harder here. Hyenas and other animals must search for new living environments. But with the help of researchers like Mzi Fairvey and community-based conservation efforts, there's still a chance in Namibia for people and animals to readapt and forge a life out of the desert.
To Spain now. and the Canary island of La Palma, where nearly a 3-month-long volcanic eruption left entire villages buried beneath rivers of lava. The fiery molten rock destroyed buildings, plantations and vineyards, and residents are determined to find a way to live with the volcano's legacy and rebuild their communities.
Cleaning up efforts at the foot of the Cumbre Vieja in Las Manchas are in full swing. Tons of ashes need to be removed. Charo González Andrade is busy too. It's a special cleanup mission, but despite the hard work, she is relieved. Her village is still there.
We're over the moon. We didn't think we'd come back. The eruption was so close, just over there.
Firefighters and many volunteers have helped her to free the house from the ashes, but there is no running water at the moment. And the roof of the small annex might collapse. She and her husband almost lost it all.
We were so scared that the house would collapse. Because of all those ashes there, a lot of pressure built up. The walls of these types of houses are old, but this is an old yet strong house because it didn't collapse.
Charo González Andrade and others here are optimistic that in a few weeks' time, life in Las Manchas will be almost normal again. Once the tons of ashes are gone. The island also needs new housing developments. Those who weren't as lucky are still living in emergency accommodation. The local government has decided to allow denser construction on La Palma now, because the lava has taken away a lot of the space. Not far from Las Manchas, the aftermath is pretty clear.
Whoa.
A gigantic mass of lava has buried almost everything, including the village of Todoque, where José Garitano lived before.
My house is literally a few kilometers from here, under the lava, but I cannot tell exactly where anymore. It's as if this is just one big black desert. It leaves quite an impression.
The eruption of the Cumbre Vieja volcano has changed his life and that of thousands of palmeros forever. For around 3 months, the lava has been destroying buildings and livelihoods, and even the church that was once built by the villagers. The architect Garitano wants to rebuild all of it, just where it once was, but on top of the lava. The whole of Todoque is geolocated digitally.
It could prove to be complicated and difficult, and we don't even have an up-to-date map of the structure here. But yes, we will have a new landscape here.
The lava is still hot, though. It will take a long time for it to cool down. In the meantime, scientists on the island of Tenerife are running tests to see if the ashes of the volcano can be used to make cement for the reconstruction.
As far as I understand, the ashes are very clean. They could be perfect for construction. That would give houses and buildings a local touch too.
The architect has a vision. The historic eruption that has destroyed so much in this patch of the island could attract many visitors. There could be a museum at the foot of the volcano, maybe even exhibitions. And he wants to fully rebuild Todoque, to live a life right next to the lava.
Everything that would be built on the lava could be sustainable and ecological. I also think that there can be a protected natural area for the lava.
José Garitano wants to give back to the inhabitants of Todoque and other villages in the southwest of La Palma what the volcano has taken from them. Their homes and part of their identity.
Each of our stories today has highlighted that the planet belongs to every living being that calls it home. Our unsustainable practices don't only harm us, but also cause tremendous collateral damage. We're already living with the consequences. Global warming, rising sea levels, unseasonal floods and droughts, deforestation, burning of fossil fuels are affecting every species on the planet. A course correction where coexistence is the default as opposed to a mere suggestion is what we need today. Think about that, and I'll see you again next week. From our entire team in India and Germany, goodbye and thanks for watching.